Okay, hey, nice. Okay, it looks like it's getting better now. And okay, hey,
Oops.
nice. Okay. Good. Good. Okay, I don't know how many people are here, but that's okay. Oh, okay. Alright, so I think we can kind of start slowly. Oh, nice, we got 2 more live. Yo, yo. Hey. Okay, good. TQI, alright. Hi, everyone. How do you switch it to dark mode? Okay, so who's here? Who's here now? Or, well, okay, so TQI maybe isn't here yet. Who's this? Kaleidos? Is Kaleidos here? Okay, TQI's here. Okay, let's start with the TQI track then. Okay. Y'all ready? Tell me if there's any problems with the audio or whatever, because... Yeah. Cool. Okay. I kind of like the straight hi-hats. Right. This part's cool. So I would say, like, for this one, maybe one of the things that you could do, one of the things that you could do if you're stuck is just, I would work on the sound design a little bit, like just maybe a more punchy kick, or another snare layered over top of the snare. Yeah, Odd Logic definitely is right on that one. Top strut factor. I like the beginning too. I like that it's all stretched out too. But yeah, layering another kick over top of it will definitely make it sound more punchy and shit. Because it's so stretched out that the kicks are sort of like lost in there. It'll just like help reinforce it. Like if you blend it right, it won't sound like another sound on top of it. It'll sound like it's like part of the same sound. Also, I think in this section, you can like, so you're kind of sitting on the same chord. It feels like for this bit, and then, but I feel like you could move around a little bit. When I'm stuck, I just sort of try to make. I'm like, okay, I have this section, but it doesn't. I don't know what to do with it. Then I'll just try to make a build up during this whole section. You know what I mean? Sweet. Nice to meet you, Thorinvos. Yeah, so I think my advice would be like reinforce the kick or like layer another kick underneath and maybe try to mess around with a different snare or like layer another snare on top of the one that you have just to reinforce it. I think like the sounds are already cool, but they just are lacking a bit of punch, and I think it would be really difficult to get punch out of the sounds that you have, and I think layering would be the easier and probably more effective way of doing it. Yeah, and then building in this, like I would like build through this section, and you could probably extend the shit out of this section. Just like have some more chord movement in there. That would maybe help. But it's cool. The sounds are really worth exploring. I think like just playing around more with them. I think that would be super handy. Nice, yeah, lots of new names here today. This is cool. Okay, I think that's it for this one. I really like this part too. I would just maybe try to focus the melody more too, because the notes are sort of like they're really all over the place, and I think you could get the same sort of feeling but more dialed in, like more focused, if you just had like a lead line that was like in the same frequency range, you know, so like just maybe, you know, that piano but just like slowly descending in notes. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I find with generative stuff, it's hard to get good. I mean, that's why I'm doing the neural net stuff for, like, making the music, making AI. Because it's like, I find when you have a generative thing, it's hard to program the generative thing so that it moves from chord to chord in a way that makes sense. One of the things that I found really inspiring for that is Musar engine chords triangle. I found this thing kind of helpful. So I would just recommend looking this up, like to learn how this thing works, because it can be super helpful, and it can help you build sort of like a what's it called? Markov chain. Like, so you can integrate like a Markov chain into your generative thing, and then that'll help it move kind of more logically through different chords. This this ends up sounding really sort of basic, but playing around with this idea will help a lot. Like so one of the things that I'm guessing you kind of already have in your generative thing is like a sort of a auto-tune thing for the notes so that they stay in a key. So the way that you can kind of expand on that too is like you don't have to have an actual chord progression, but you can have sort of like an implicit chord progression so that, for example, say you go 1 4 5 or 1 5 4, whatever that classic progression is, you would be more likely to hit the 1, the 3, the 5, and maybe the 7 of that chord than any of the other notes in the scale, while it's in the place of like the playing the 1 chord, and then same thing for the other chords. Like it'd be more likely to hit the notes in the chord. And then also like having the progression helps you have like having the chord thing behind whatever is driving your melody will help your melody have a sense of tension and release, which I think is part of what makes the piece right now feel like it's just sitting there, is like is that there it's like lacking a bit of like tension and release, which is super common in generative stuff. I think that happens a lot, and it's hard to get out of that. So I wish you a lot of luck with that. But yeah, so I think my recommendation would be like Musar. Look into the Musar engine, and look into Markov chains, which you probably already know about. And yeah, this is weird. There must be something else called the Musar engine that has nothing to do with music. Whatever. Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay, so who's next? Do we have Kaleidos here? Is Kaleidos here? What about... who's this again? Who on Solar? Yeah, we got you in here. Let's do this one. Hey, we're Hog 5. Okay, so, um, okay, so two main things. I think, like, I mean, maybe this is just a personal taste thing, but this first bit sounds like hella cheesy to me. Like, it's like way too light and happy, in my opinion. There's something cool that you can do actually with a chord progression like this, though. So, say your chord progression's like, I don't know what it is. I'm not that good at music theory, but this is just kind of a cool thing I figured out recently. So say your chord progression's like the one chord, and then, I don't know, the 3 chord, and then the 5 chord, some shit like that, right? If you start at a different chord instead of starting on the 1, I think it's technically like like you're doing a different mode, or a mode of a different key or something like that. But what it can do sometimes is, like, so if you started with major and you start on the 4 chord or something instead, and do the same distance between the chords, but just starting on a different chord. And I found that specifically the even ones work best for major. So, like, instead of going like 1, or let's just pretend it's 1, 4, 5, or I guess the other way around, you would have to switch it around a bit. But then, so starting on the 4, then you would go 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, that would be kind of weird. So that would go like 4, 6, 7, or something like that. Just like shifting the chords around a little bit. It's like somehow very quickly makes it a lot more emotional. Um, um, yeah. Uh, and then the melody, I think, also could use some work, like the yeah. That's a fun way of doing it too. Is like make it creepy happy. But yeah, that dun, 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 dun. It's like a little. I think it's might be a little bit too. Again, it might be just a personal thing, but it's maybe a little bit too. Okay, yeah. Okay, so maybe that's like yeah, maybe that's more your vibe is like going into the zany, like the weird stuff. So yeah, from that perspective, you can kind of lean more on like augmented chords, or like so. Then that's sorry, I've been like so focused on music theory stuff. I'm trying to integrate it into my life, but but yeah. So subbing out some of the major chords for augmented chords might be interesting. Um, or yeah, just detuning will work really well for that, like to make your happy shit sound creepy happy. Um, yeah, Carney music. There's some sick sound design in here though, like specifically I like this part too. I'm really a big fan of the like slow tuning. Okay, yeah, cool. Um, there's different ways of using like the major scale uh, that sound really like nice and emotional, which is kind of something I didn't notice for a long time. But like the major scale can be really sad too, or not sad, but just like deep, I guess. Just depends on what chords of it that you hit. Um, yeah, there was another bit too here where the other thing that I would recommend trying is like making it more. I hope you'll forgive me for saying this, but it sounds a little bit like the happiness of it sounds a little bit derpy to me, and I wonder if it might be worthwhile to like lean into the derpy part too. So like take that melody and then replay it, but play it kind of off the grid. So it's sort of like dip, 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 I don't know. It might sound kind of fun, or it might be interesting. Um, or that could be another interesting thing to do with it is like put in a heavy kind of wonky type swing into it. That might be kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, what I would do is program the notes to be off the grid instead of doing it that way. Instead of like messing with the groove or playing with a delay or something like that, I would just like move the notes on the piano roll. But yeah, that's worth exploring too, like delay and groove and stuff. But yeah, this the sound design's cool. Just overall, I think like, and I think this is a personal preference thing. Was like I would go with a lot more dissonance and like just exploring, like yeah, different feelings in it. There's something about I don't know. There's something about happy stuff that sounds really like unrefined to me. I don't really know why that is exactly. It just feels like yeah, I don't know why that is actually. But anyways, yeah. So I think it's cool, and there was some really nice um, feedback from other people in there. But yeah, and I think like also playing with the automation over longer sections of time can get you a little bit more extra like development, and then it'll help it from feeling like it's just sort of sitting in the sections instead of moving through them. It'll make it feel less long too. Nice. Okay, cool. We got a person in here that knows music theory probably better than I do. Okay, wicked. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about this one. Yeah, word. More extended chords. That's what I would go for too. Well, I don't know about that. It seems like a lot of work. But yeah, you could go that way for sure. It's a good idea. Okay, so who else is here? We got Gianluca Yadema. Do we have Loisi? Yeah, thanks for sending it in, man. Oh, hey, yeah, actually, that's kind of a nice follow-up. Let's do this one. How do you pronounce this? Ziedra. Alright. There's some, oh, for fuck's sake, stop. There's some really sick vibes in here. Hey, Gianluca. There's some really sick vibes in here. There's some really fucking nice sound design. I really, really like a lot of the sound design. But I don't know why you guys are sending me all your happy songs, because you guys know I'm not happy. And I don't really make happy music, and I don't really know what to say about happy music, because it's not. But yeah, that being said, like there's lots of cool things in here, and I feel like actually in in relation to the Nuan Solar track, I think that even though this is in a happy vibe, this one feels a lot more refined. There's a lot of like interesting movement going on. I'm not trying to slam you, Nuan Solar, or anything like that, but I'm just saying like this might be a good inspiration point for what you were working on. Because there's lots of cool, like, yeah, just the way that the bass lines up with the melody, the way that the melodies overlap with each other, the sound design of this little, like, fluty thing in here. Wait, where is it? That thing. That sounds really cool. What else is in here that I liked? Oh, there's one thing in here that I actually just really didn't like. That's fuck that ending. Everything else is good, but then when you land on that chord, it's so like da, da, I don't know, something about that just really I don't like that. Yeah. Otherwise it's cool. Yeah, I don't know, it's just not my vibe of like resolving that strongly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels really Disney. But I mean, whatever. It kind of does fit the mood of the track. I just think like you could finish it in a different way. Um, yeah. That being said, too, like the whole track does. It's happy, but it has this sort of like wistful happiness to it, and like because of some of the sounds being really like reminiscent of like video games to me, like of old video games to me, it gives it this sort of childlike feeling that I really like. So it's kind of nice to. It's nice that you sort of dived in there. Yeah, it is super pretty. I really like that. Um, Melody blending. Yeah, there's lots of really cool things happening harmonically with like the way the different elements interact. I think that's really really cool. And yeah, the sound design is on point. That's kind of I don't really know what else to say about this track because it works. It totally works as a thing. Yeah, I'll follow you. Follow. Oh, for fuck's sake! God damn it! Okay, there we go. Okay. So, yeah, true. Yeah, the soundscape, like right from the beginning, it's like, okay, this is gonna be really polished. What? Just out of curiosity, what DAW are you using for this? It's in 3/4. I didn't even really notice that. Oops. That's cool. That's interesting. My instinct was to say that it was FL because it's some of the stereo widening and the way that the textures, the high frequency sound is really like reminiscent to a lot of the things that happen naturally in FL. I think this is really cool to get these kind of nice these. I find it really hard to get these nice textures in Ableton, so it's nice. It's nice to hear. Gives me hope. Okay, I think Lloydsy said he was here, so let's do this one. Actually, I'm gonna close the ones that we listen to. I'll put them here. No, we'll close them. Fuck it. All right, getting into the darkness now. Ooh. Cool. Yeah, I'm into this. Yeah, this is tight. That's a good point. Damn it, this is amazing. Ow, it's gonna hurt in my hand. Damn, this is fucking sweet. Oh, that was a nice bit. Nice level of tone. Shit, that's it. Fuck, that was cool. That was really, really cool. I'm down like that for sure. Yeah, sick. Okay. I hope that doesn't fuck up the stream. What can I even say? Yeah, that was kind of I like that feedback by Non Solar that like I think a clickier kick somewhere in this bit. Oh, fuck, is this not gonna load now? Okay. Yeah, I didn't expect the jazzy piano either. I didn't know what to expect at the beginning, actually. Yeah, I think a clickier kick would help accentuate this bit. It reminded me a little bit of like a cooler version of the kind of stuff that was really popular on Raster Noton for a while. This feels more emotional in a really good way. Yeah, where's your SoundCloud? Click the SoundCloud. Yeah. Oh, the Raster Noton. Yeah. But the older stuff. I haven't kept up with that label at all lately. Yeah, it's really nice the mix between the like super staccato stuff here and then the really smooth stuff here. I would say for this bit, when it gets into the smooth stuff, I would those little bits where you have the gating, I would stay away from that in this section, just because to keep the stark contrast between those two. And I feel like the smoothness of the vibe here really works, and going into the cut bits, like the gating on everything, feels like it halts the vibe a little bit, and you're already in such a good like flow in this part that I feel like that takes away from it rather than kind of accentuating the feeling. But there's some fucking really nice glitches in here. One of the ones I wanted to point out, it's coming here. That one, that's a really fucking nice moment. Yeah, I think in general one of the things that I would recommend for this track is I mean, it feels done to me, but but if you wanted to work on it more, one of the things that I would say would be playing a little bit more with texture. A lot of the textures sound really clean. I mean, that might just be your sound, and that's cool. It definitely gives a certain feel. But if you wanted to fuck around with it more, that would be I have a bit lost from beginning to. Okay. What do you mean I have a bit lost from beginning to? Like you feel like the beginning doesn't get there? I feel like the beginning's really effective because it's sort of floating and it doesn't. It's really hard to tell where it's going, but it sets a really nice tone. And then when you cut and you go to the staccato bit, then it really like it's super effective in my opinion. And so I really like what happened. Yeah, that's crazy. That was a wicked track. Thank you for sending that. That was really cool. I don't really know what else I can say about this because it rocks. I think that's the consensus in the chat too. Wicked. That's awesome. I wonder what would be some cheap and easy ways to get more texture. What is some concrete advice I could give that? You could try using a different, because the piano is really clean sounding, which is cool, but I think that that could be a place to add a little bit of texture. Yeah. The kick here. So like if you use the kick with a little bit of click in it, and then also a little bit of like that, you know, so it's like no, not in the warp modes. I mean like just adding a little bit of noise or grit to it, I think would bring the whole thing to life a little bit more. One of the things you could do is like it's funny, I've been looking at that subreddit synthesizer circle jerk all day, so I'm like kind of afraid to say this, but I think honestly like getting like a tape emulation effect VST, like to add a little bit of warble to the pitch, or yeah, maybe layering some Foley, or even adding a little bit of like, what's that fucking, what's that thing in Ableton? Actually, we can bring it in here and see what see what it sounds like. Let me set this to. Let's just see what, if there's any kind of quick and easy ways to do it. Swapped. Okay. Ow, fuck. Okay, hold on. Is that super loud or what's going on there? Oh, it's not even coming through. Right, why is it not coming through? Oh, I need to go. You hear it now? Yeah, okay. Is it quiet or is it alright? Okay, whatever. Anyway, so one of the things that I would try is you can get kind of a nice tapey. I wouldn't do this on the master, just to be clear, but you can get kind of a nice tapey effect if you use echo and set it to time. Oh, fuck's sake. Right, time really short, and then I would delay one side, feedback all the way down, dry wet all the way up, and then add a little bit of modulation to the delay, but maybe, let's see. So that way you get a little bit of this stereo expanding, but then also, yeah, it moves around in a nice way. Oh, right, because this is post-mixer. Is that better? And then the other thing too is like I would leave the filtering on, so then you get a little bit of this like cutting out some of the higher frequencies. Or that might be nice. Wait, why the fuck am I getting this like feedback though? Okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but whatever. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep going with this. So yeah, that, and then the other way you can do this is if you bump up the gain here a bit, and then pull it down again here. also give you a little bit of distortion in kind of a nice way. That can be nice. You can also add a little bit of noise, maybe. Again, like, be careful with this, but... But yeah, I wouldn't add it to everything, just a little bit to one of the tracks. It'll give it a little bit more texture. Yeah, I can actually just save this as a preset. Can I just post this in here? Does that let me do that? No, it does not. Okay. Can you add it to a queue? Yeah, we'll do. I'll add it in a second. Here, actually, I'll just do this. Loisy, I'll just email this to you. Or Loisy. Here you are. Okay, and then the other thing I would do, so that's one way of doing it. You could also maybe get away with this like dynamic tube on some of it. Just like, it adds like a little bit of bias. This might be too much of this effect, but like a little bit of that tape bias might be nice. That's another way. It's another way. You can use this amp thing. I would do it really quietly, but this might add a little bit of spike. Again, like not to the master, just one of the tracks. This is a bit too much, but just gives it a little bit of grit, you know? And then, what else can we use to get a bit of grit? It's kind of it for the built-in ones. If you're using Mac, you could one of these. Some of these might be helpful, like the Wolf compressor, or maybe even tone control. That might give you a little bit of a nice thing. Or FabFilter Saturn. Nicely, I usually just end up checking the saturator. Yeah, actually, sorry, that's a good point. Saturator would work well too. Yeah, and then also actually, if you want to try a really no, all those ones I mentioned are not free, but this one is. So this Labs thing by Spitfire is really nice, and this piano that comes with it is super nice. It has a really nice. Let me see. Okay, anyways, that's done now. But yeah, I really recommend this Spitfire Labs thing because it's free, and some of the things, the presets that come with it, or the things that you can get for it that are also free, are fucking super nice sounding. Yeah. What else is free that's good for this kind of thing? Actually, somebody made a tape thing that was free. Fuck, what was it called? like a tape emulator thing that was free. Fuck, I don't know. I had it at one point. I just don't remember what it's called. Yeah, whatever. Anyways. Okay, cool. So that's kind of that. That's where we're at for that. Right. Okay. Oh, this should just go here. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Then tell me if there's like bad reverb or something, or delay in it. Okay. Load these guys up. Cool. Okay. So what else we got? This is okay. Trivent, Audible. Oh, Gianluca is here, right? Let's do this one now. Uh-oh. Hold on. That's my shit glitching out. Oops. Why is this cutting out like this? Maybe it's this. Okay, cool. So. Wait, is this the one that we were supposed to listen to? I thought we were listening to this one. Okay, here we go. That one was cool too. This is the one that I think this is the one that they sent that we're supposed to listen to. This is great. Ooh. I'll turn it up so that it breaks my brain when it goes loud. Yeah, this is really cool. Have you been releasing with them for a while or no? Yeah, that sounds more interesting to me than VOG. Yeah. I'm guessing that's an influence of yours. Gianluca, was that an influence of yours? VOG? Nice. Actually, you know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit? It sounds like a more refined version of some of the stuff that Wicklow was working on. Do you know Wicklow? He's been playing a lot of festivals with my old collaborator. If you get a chance to see Wicklow and Push One Stop play together, it's a pretty fucking sweet duo. They do this really cool thing with volumetric projection. Sorry, I'm gonna talk to you. I like this kind of stuff, but I kind of feel like it would be nice if the vibe kind of kept going a little bit more. It feels like it stops and starts a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. I really like what Zero XOXO put. That it almost hurts, but it's really well balanced. It's really nice. This is the kind of texture that I was talking about for the last one, actually. It's a nice progression of tracks here. It also reminds me a lot of some of the feelings that I got as part of the class. Oh, okay, that makes sense. It reminds me. Do you want to actually? Can you explain the concept of the album a little bit more? Yeah. Also, yeah, I'm curious about that too. Like, how do you go about composing stuff like this? Let's listen again while you explain it. So I want it to be louder. Is it right up? I didn't fully understand what's going on here, though. Do you want to tell us a little bit more in detail? instrumental composition, so each in this structure. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's kind of crazy the balance that you have. Like the sounds are so high pitched, but they like nice mixing. Makes it really work. Oh, okay. Like, I'm not familiar with Parmesan. Cool. Check that out later. Mashup. Actually, I'll look that up later because it's gonna load and it's gonna fuck up the stream. Yeah. Planned obsolescence. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, super interesting. I don't really know what to say for feedback, to be honest. It's a bit out of my expertise, I guess. I've tried to make stuff like this before, but I'm so bad. Yeah. Let me see. I wonder what it sounds like on a big sound system. I find this stuff really thrives on like a huge, sound system. Yeah, there's some really nice sense of tension in this too. It doesn't feel like overwhelmingly tense, like unresolved. But it has a good sense of like sitting you in this nice place where you're kind of pensive, but not overly pensive. It's very nice. Yeah, great stuff. Really great stuff. I'm interested to hear the rest of the album. Oh, I just followed Force Inc. Whoops. Anyways. Okay, cool. That was good. Alright, so who's next? Who sent me this one? Is Kaleidos here? Yeah. Lynn is here. And there's a dog here named Abby. Is Kaleidos here? Who else? Trivent? Is Trivent here? What about Inaudible? I feel like I saw Inaudible in here. Trivent's here. Okay, Trivent's next then. You're 19? Get the fuck out of my face. That's so sick. I think it's better than if Tipper used distortion. Damn. Wow. Alright. You got a young genius in here. Okay, what's going on with the rhythm? Tell us. What is happening? How did you do that? Is it in a weird time signature, or is it like a... Yeah, what's going on? The vocal samples really work in this too. It doesn't get like cheesy, it just has a good vibe in it. Actually is just keep these bits going longer. Try to figure out. So one of the things that I do a ton when I'm stuck with something like this is I'll do let's see if I can get this to work. I'll do this sort of thing. They're like, oh, come on. So I'll like take a section like this and then resample it, and then smooth this down, duplicate, and then play with the resampled version. So like, or what you can do too is like, so say you have your kind of your structure laid out here, then the second time you loop it, just start messing with it. I think I do that quite a bit. Like you can see me do that quite a lot on my Thursday stream when I'm working on my tracks. So like the second version of the loop, I just fuck with it until it's like different but related to the first one. And then that'll kind of keep the progression going. And because these bits, in my opinion, could last way longer. Like right now, it's like 15 to 30 seconds, and I think you can really extend them at least a minute each. You can also, I think, build through. It might be interesting to figure out a way to build into the ends of the sections, because right now they're sort of like, oh, fuck, this is a disaster. Yeah, okay, I'm not even gonna bother with that. But yeah, you could like build through the sections more so that they, oh, for fuck's sake. Alright, this is a disaster. Okay, set up. Yeah, like so adding some tonal element or something, or like trying to speed up the rhythm as they get to the end of the section, that'll give you a little bit more build into the bits where it goes away again. I like how these things build up, but you can also extend those guys too by just trying to build the tension longer. Yeah, that being said, the track fucking totally works. I just think that like you sit in these vibes and the vibes are so good. Like I would like to hear more of them. This is what I want to get. That was cool. Yeah, the whole thing is Yeah. Yeah, true. Oh, wicked. I'd love to hear that. Okay, cool. Yeah, please post the link to the DMB version if you feel like it. I'd love to hear that. Or you can just send it to me. Okay, so this person is here. Oh, this is Death on Two Legs. Yeah, okay, I don't care. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, ugh. Wait, how are you in uni and not in uni anymore if you're 19? Stop sending me what waves, guys. Just send me MP3s. It's fine. MP3s are just fine. Don't need waves. Stream is lower quality than wave anyways. Don't send me viruses. Unless they're funny. Fuck you. Completed. Oops, god damn it. So quit this. This is cool already. Yeah, I agree. I quite like the way it sounds. It's really nice. Perfect combo. Oh, great. Nice. Yeah, how did you perform it? Cool. Curious to see that setup. No way. Get out. Sick. That's so cool. Yeah, that was super cool. Oops, shit. I'll play that. Okay. Yeah, so as far as feedback goes, I mean, it's a live jam, so like that kind of puts a lot of what I would say out the window. I think like a nice, super minimal, simple melody, not simple, sorry, just super minimal melody, I think would just bring the whole thing home, or like just some sort of like dissonant pad swell. Yo, actually, so I went to go see one of my teachers from uni play a long time ago, like when I was in university, and him and this dude were performing live together. It was like just live, weird electronic shit. But they had they put a contact mic under a kettle, and they just turned on the kettle to start boiling water for coffee or something at the beginning of their set, and just the noise that came from the kettle starting to boil and like slowly growing and growing in intensity, and then at the end fully overtaking the mix, gave the whole like live improvised jam thing a really, really solid structure. I think about that a lot, of how like just one sound rising in intensity or one parameter just slowly automated to be more intense or dissonant or tense or whatever, can really give a shitload of structure to like a live improvisation. I try to think about that for my live shows as well, even though my live shows are kind of, well, definitely done in a different way than that. Those, I think, like one of the important things for making live setups too is like making one of my friends, or this guy I used to live with, used to call that strong temporality or strongly timed things, meaning that like at some point, like, so where you have like a big build and then you have something where it feels like all of a sudden everything changes, because like in live jams a lot of the time it's like one thing will change at a time because you only have so many hands, but like having some built-in things for like really quickly, do they measure how much time needed for a certain amount of water to boil in sync performance? It was a pretty open format for the performance, so I think they were just like, it's just gonna, like, our performance is just gonna be however long it takes the water to boil. They just estimated that it turned out it was like a good amount for a performance when they were practicing, I guess. Add a riser to the intro of my track. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the effect that risers have, you know. Same sort of thing, but there's like a way of making it in not a cheesy way. These newts. I really have to go to the bathroom, so I'm just gonna play that track again, and then except I'm gonna say. Yeah, cool. Sweet. Put that aside for the to listen to later too. That's really cool. Okay, so that was this one. Do you have anybody new in here? Okay. Okay, cool. So, mega. This better not be a wave. It's a fucking wave. God damn it. Okay, whatever. Okay, so do we have Xenodine 4-fluorate? Or language? Nice. Or Kaleidos? Wait, who are you? Who are you, 0xx? Or Notable? Who's going to be first to claim it? Okay, cool. Okay, here we go. Xenodine 4-fluorate. Yeah, track is really cool. I really like it. Yeah, I think that's the only part that is a bit lacking to me. Um, is yeah the so one of the things that you can use is that you can do is I think it's called a harmonic rhythm, which is just like changing because right now you have like one chord, you know what I mean? Like it's like in these like the same length chunks each time, and I think that's one thing that like makes something sound a little bit more simple. The other thing too is that do you ever hear that Miles Davis quote of "Don't play the butter notes"? I don't know if I fully agree with that idea, but that might be something to think about. Like, actually, like, do you watch Adam Neely's videos on YouTube? He has a whole series of videos that like explain really complicated theory things or like relatively complicated theory things in a quite an understandable and usable way, which I think is super helpful. Um, I don't think you really have to understand music theory to write weird music theory stuff. Just like I think the thing that gets in people's ways a lot more is like if you if you're thinking about if you don't have a good understanding of music theory and then you're trying to apply the bit that you know, I think that's going to get you less far than like forgetting about the music theory that you know and just going totally by ear. You'll probably get some more interesting things going that way instead of trying to follow the rules of music theory because it's not really supposed to work like that anyways. It's supposed to be descriptive, not prescriptive, right? So music theory isn't supposed to tell you what to do, but it's supposed to describe what people already do as a way of understanding it. Um, which is nice because it like gives you the language to be able to talk about things and think about your own compositions in a kind of more detailed way. And for sure, that can kind of help you with ideas and stuff. Um, but yeah, so I would recommend if you're finding the music theory stuff, um, if you're finding the music theory stuff kind of daunting or something, then I would totally recommend just going totally off the rails with it. Like just forget about it entirely. Don't even worry about staying in a scale or whatever. Just play whatever you think feels nice. And actually, if you think about like a lot of my friend was explaining this to me before, is that like we didn't really have for a really long time, like with a lot of classical music, we didn't have this understanding of functional harmony that we did before, or that we did. So we didn't have the same understanding of functional harmony that we do now. So a lot of it was like it was not staying in a key or anything like that. They use a lot of like borrowed chords or sort of like key changes or whatever, and it's just kind of this idea of like how like the notes in a chord lead to the notes in the next chord. So for example, say you have one chord that's like these notes or whatever, and then you have another chord that's these notes. It was more along the lines of this voice leading thing of like that each note in the chord should move kind of stepwise towards the note that it's going to. Yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of screwed me up too. I had the same thing with like learning about mixing and like production and stuff. The more I learned about it, the more I found that my music's like suffered because of it until I kind of got over this certain level of being like, oh, I get it. Like these are some things you can do, but you don't have to do them. And like, and then the end thing is like trust your ear. Yeah. So, that would be kind of my advice for this track. Is like, you could actually. I don't know if this will help or not for this particular track, but what you could do is like take out the mute the drums for a sec, and then try just messing with the chords And you can do like, for example, just pick one element first and mess with that one, and then bring in another one of the elements that you already had, and then adjust it to kind of fit with what you changed in the first one, and then do the same thing with the third one to make it fit with those ones. That could maybe help. The other thing that you can do is, like, without taking out the drums, what I would do is, if I wanted to focus more on working on the melody and stuff, then I would bring the drums down in the mix, and then bring the melodic stuff up in the mix, so it's easier to focus on. And then get out of there. Stop. Get out of there. John's trying to eat the extension cord or something. Okay, so blah, what was I saying? Yeah. Okay. Alright, Abby, come up here. Can I lift you up like this? Yes. Face the people. Face the people. I'll go. Meow. No, those are not for you. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, so this is Abigail. And then so what I would say is, like, just take some time to, like, try to forget all the music theory stuff that you know, and then just play around with how it sounds. And then I definitely meowed to the cat by accident. I mean, to the dog. Whatever. Okay, get off of me. Okay. Alright, that's enough. People want to hear music and he tells us. Yeah, I know what you mean. I kind of go back and forth on that stuff too. I find that tonal stuff helps to pull me into my own stuff too. But what I did when I was feeling really frustrated with it was, like, to try to strip it down as much as possible. So instead of writing, like, chord progressions, I would just focus on, like, having, like, a almost not monophonic, because, like, the tails would overlap the different notes, but, like, having a melody that's, like, really sparse and spread out. And I think that there's something really nice and, like, deep, emotional sounding about that. You can also you can do a lot of really cool stuff with, I was going to say get away with, having just, like, one arpeggio type thing, and then just having a one note melody that, like, moves up slowly. You can create a ton of tension. That's a good question. Ron Solar. You all write your tonal stuff in the composition process. I mean, for me, it really depends. It's like, if you go too far down either path without attending to the other one, I find that it's hard to keep going from there. Like, if you really work on the chords and melodies and stuff, and then you try to fit drums to it, the drums end up sounding a bit more basic, and then vice versa. Like, if you work super hard on the drum stuff, then it's hard to fit melodic stuff over top of that. So I find it also really nice to go back and forth to try to kind of develop both at once. Yeah, that being said, that was killer. I love the drums, obviously. They're wicked, and I'm kind of with whoever said that also, of, like, I want to hear more breakcore stuff. And it definitely fits the name. Like, this is, like, the perfect name for this kind of music. One of the things that I kind of suggested to somebody else earlier, that I'll kind of suggest again, is like if you have whatever your track is, if you have a bit that you're like a nice way to actually I'll do it this way. So a nice way to like develop your melodies and stuff is like, say you start by writing, you know, an 8 or 16 bar loop, and then what I would do is instead of looping that, I would just copy paste it and then change it a little bit in this iteration, and then change it a little bit in the next iteration, and change it a little bit in the next iteration. And then that way you get this sort of natural progression between these two, because each one is a copy of the previous one just with some changes. And then from there, when you have a super long section like that and you loop it, then it just feels like this nice continuation. And then from there, some things that I would do is like, say you have this big thing and you just cloned it, then I would just mess with maybe the tail end of this one and the tail end of this one, or just mess with this pattern and this pattern, or even just messing with the last pattern. That can kind of take you a lot of the way. And then one automation through here will give you such a great like build up, building of tension. I don't want to say build up because that sounds like I'm talking about something cheesy, but yeah, some like a nice like building of tension throughout the track. So yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, okay, some Adam Neely things that I would really strongly recommend. I feel like I do this every time, but it's useful. Adam Neely. Playlist for like the kind of thing I'm talking about. What is this?
So I want to talk a little bit.
Shut. This one's super interesting. 7 levels of jazz harmony. This one was kind of interesting to me, although it doesn't feel super accurate. This was kind of a cool idea. The Coltrane fractal. He has a couple on like reharmonization, like bass reharmonization, jazz fusion reharmonization. This kind of stuff is, I found, super interesting. Not particularly like immediately applicable, but like super helpful. This was pretty interesting too, the polytonal Linkin Park thing. This is also kind of interesting. This is what got me into his channel, actually. And then what's this?
Look, you don't have the weak, womanly fingers of a guitar princess. You, my friend, have the muscular stumps of a bass man.
Whatever. Okay. This is helpful if you haven't learned anything about polyrhythms before. I mean, a lot of this stuff is super helpful anyways, but this is kind of interesting. bass note reharmonization. This one. That one I found super helpful too. Okay, in the comments. Nice. Alright, so that was that one. That was cool. That was super cool. Thanks for sending that. Boop. Okay. Jesus. Okay, whatever. She can stay there. Alright, who else is here? Language here. Kaleidos. Is Kaleidos here? Looking for Newt or Nautible. Or whoever sent me demo.wait. Oh, this is Remy Lafreniere. Remy Lafreniere. Okay. Should we do the Kaleidos one next? Yeah, let's do Kaleidos next. Oh yeah. This is, I think, the first psytrance track we've gotten here. Why is it so quiet all of a sudden? Sound design in psytrance really appealing also. I do. I'm not sure if I really understand what the structure is supposed to be in psytrance tracks though. I can kind of hear like the riffiness. Somebody was explaining to me about the like riffiness. This is all analog, Jesus. Like all sequence and shit in analog too. Yeah, Z used to make some side stuff. about the kick being louder, to be honest. I think that, I mean, psytrance people are always talking about the balance between the kick and the bass. And I don't really have a refined ear for that, but this one sounds right to me. Oh yeah, word. That was a nice vocal bit. This is cool. This is super cool. I agree with that. I would say it is perfect. Like, I wouldn't change it really. 10 minutes actually. It definitely feels more like 5. Yeah. Yeah, the detail in this is super nice. Yeah, killer. Nice. Yeah, wicked. Great stuff. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that one either, to be honest. Kind of just does it for me. Some like minor mix nitpicks. Like that. That was a good point by Zero XOXO about the essiness of the drums. That could be addressed a little bit. What else? Some like minor panning stuff. Would be nice to hear some passages in the glitchy stuff like move, not like automatically like continue moving, but like some very thought out, like like just slowly going from one side to the next. Yeah, so Soups on bass would make that's a nice idea too. Yeah, a little bit of saturation coming in and out or changing a little bit. I don't think that's super typical in psytrance, but it might be interesting. You could lean into some of those riffs more if you felt like it. Like, so keeping, like, doing a pattern that repeats a little bit more. Although I can't say that I was paying close enough attention. Like, it was hard to remember exactly what happened in the whole trip. But it would be maybe nice to have some bits where it just, like, like that kind of thing. I don't know if I really sang that super well, but like you kind of get that idea. Yeah, cool. That was sweet. Tell your brother I liked it a lot. Oh, isn't filtering the basses? You could probably get some really dope. Yeah, word. Okay. So this one's next, I think. Oh shit. Oh no. I didn't mean to do that. Shit. I just was tempted by the command line. Sorry. Shit. It's gonna take forever to load now. Damn it. This is so tempting, just sitting there. Yeah. Where were we, like here? I think it could use a little bit more development over time. We've got like a good vibe, and kind of like this feels cool, like to sit in this vibe. But I think, yeah, it's worth adding some more development over the course of the tune, so things like slightly change as they keep going. Which I'm guessing they probably do, but like, yeah. I'm not particularly offended by this snare, to be honest, but yeah, fair enough. I would also, for this one, I would recommend some of the texture stuff that I was saying. That really crispy, like, actually, let's just back up. That tone, the crispy high end of it. I think there's probably a way of distorting it slightly differently, or adding some sort of like dusty sort of something on top of it that would make it come to life a little bit more. It sounds a little bit digital. Well, the snare expert is weighing in. I'm not the biggest fan on the snare. I'm just teasing you, Glug. I actually want to hear your opinion on it. What could he do to fix or to change the snare or make it better in your opinion? Doof. Oh, the bottom end of the snare? Interesting. I think the kicks could be bigger too. Yeah, I think like my main critique of it would be could add some more texture, like some more or like refining the texture a little bit to make it a little bit more dusty sounding. I think that would work well with this vibe. Yeah, that kind of makes sense what Glorfunk is saying about the snare. It feels like a slightly different vibe than the rest of the tune. But if that's the vibe that you're going for in the track, then maybe the idea would be to like change the way all the other stuff sounds to make it fit the vibe of the snare. Yeah, I'm going to sign off in a sec here too. Take it easy, Noan Solar. Nice having you in here. Yeah, and I think the pace could be varied a little bit because the beat is pretty steady. Or not steady, it's like we stay in that same pattern for quite a long time, so you could spritz that up a little bit by just changing up how it goes. Even with like super heavy stuff, I find it's helpful to have. I mean, I think music is largely about like tension and release, so like having moments with more tension and going into places that feel a little bit more resolved at times could help carry the track through a little bit more. I think it'll help it like just help it feel like it keeps going. But it's great. Yeah, great start. I think it sounded good. There's some really cool sounds in there. Really like the detuning, like that's really nice. And there are nice notes that you're hitting too. I think that's a cool idea. So yeah, just playing around a bit more with the sound design, I guess, and playing around a bit more with tension and release. Meow meow. Yeah, cool, nice one. Thanks for sending that in. All right, sorry to language and audible. You gotta chime up earlier, get your track bumped in the queue. Yeah, I'll snooze them for next week, actually. Next weekend. Who else did we not do? Okay, that's you. Mobius Twist. Okay, this is a guy. Snooze next weekend. Yeah, great job, everyone. And then audible. It's audible. Here we go. Audible. All right, cool. I'm gonna take off. See you guys next week. Bye.